The podcast you're about to hear involves true stories, which may contain graphic content that is not suitable for children. Listener's discretion is advised. This is Esoteric Oddities.
Hey guys! So we were just talking about...
Okay, all right.
I'm so sorry.
No,
so we
go
were just
for it.
talking about how people always spell Jonathan's name wrong, like with an O-N. And then he brought it to my attention that people, in fact, spell it with an O-N and not an A-N. And I'm just like...
Like Jonathon, but
Right.
I spell it Jonathan.
And I'm like... And he's like, people don't actually say it like Jonathan. And I'm like, oh...
Well, also, I've had
That's
somebody...
so ugly.
I literally had somebody spell my name Jonathan.
Jonathan.
I know.
My patience is wearing thin.
Oh my God. What a weird name.
We're drinking mimosas.
We are. And really contemplating my name. Mom, why did you name me Jonathan?
Jonathan. Ryan. Bleep it out.
Well, oh my God, I almost just freaking died. I thought my fridge was open. It's not.
Are you good?
I swear
I've
I'm
been
not
seeing
drunk.
a lot of shit out the corner of my eye lately, and I don't know if it's real or not.
Me too, but I think it's just like reflections in my glasses.
True. Well, I don't have glasses, so riddle me that.
Ritalin. That's what it is. It's your fucking Ritalin. I told you need to stop fucking taking that.
You take too much.
So Sarah just did something. So we just had brunch. We had a nice little brunch.
We did.
I
That's
made
why we're
it.
drinking mimosas.
Mimosas. But we're sitting here and Sarah's trying to figure out where she wants to like put the mic. And she goes, "Can I just pull the table in?" And I was like, okay. She pulls the table in and I was like, well, you could have just pulled your chair in.
Yeah, like this is how my mind works, guys.
That's
I
all
think
right.
I'm so serious that over the years of doing like different drugs, I feel like my brain is literally like
Rewired.
depleting.
Yeah.
Like I forget the meaning of some words and things like that. Like
You do. But that makes you you.
oh,
You're not like other girls.
I'm not. I'm a stupid girl.
You're not a stupid girl. Also, I noticed something about you that I knew, but I
God.
didn't notice
I'm
it.
scared. What is it?
Okay, so there's two different people in the world. There's people who dip, and then there's people who put ketchup directly on the food, and you put ketchup directly on your food.
Okay, so I only do that with ketchup.
Well, I feel like that's the only thing people really do.
That's true. Yeah, so like
Because do you put ketchup on fries? Like on them, or do you dip them?
so I dip them, but like with little ones like that, I feel like it's so minuscule that like
You did it on your eggs too.
I did. Well, I like it on my eggs.
Well, I like to dip.
I'm a dipping girl because I feel like
No, you're not.
the-
You're a sprinkler.
I was saying that for you.
Oh, okay.
I feel like it's too much.
You guys, this is the hard-hitting content that you've subscribed for.
We
so
only
thank
come for
you.
the banter.
Yeah. Coming on a t-shirt near you. Wait,
yeah,
that
like-
sounded wrong. Coming on a t-shirt near you.
No, we are.
No, coming.
Yeah,
Oh. Okay, well that we can throw on a t-shirt too. Wow, look
we
at
love that. So it's like the eggs. I don't like it drowned in ketchup. That's just so nasty to me. And I'm finding that if I don't put it on top, it drowns in the ketchup. And I'm like,
I am a nasty bitch and I drown that shit in ketchup.
drown that shit. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I keep forgetting you have headphones in.
I know.
I think you're like listening to music or something.
I'm just you have with your AirPods in. Shut up. Wait, what was I gonna say? Oh, also another thing. You like pulp. Mm-hmm. I feel like everybody looks at me crazy because I like pulp in my orange juice.
No,
What do you guys think?
I like pulp. Like, okay, so subscribe if you like pulp.
And subscribe if you
Subscribe
don't
if you
because
don't.
we need
Yeah.
listeners.
Please help us.
What was I gonna say? Yeah, I like pulp. But you are literally she's scraping the inside of her mimosa glass and licking the pulp off of it. Okay, that I don't do. Oh, excuse you. But I feel like a lot of people are against pulp. But I can't.
But I feel like why does it bother you? Do people think it's like lint?
Well, no, I think some people are like texture people. Like I'm a big texture person and I like it. Like I love coconut.
That's why
Coconut's like the best texture.
I was gonna say coconut water tastes like
Well,
One,
coconut
it
water
looks like-
doesn't have shit in it. I'm talking about like shredded coconut. Like if you get like a Mounds, like the little candy bars with the chocolate and the almond.
right, yeah.
Love
Yeah, that's
it.
fine with me. But like coconut water, it looks like jizz and it tastes like something that's already been in someone's mouth and is now being transported to yours.
We're talking about texture. What the fuck?
That is texture.
No, it's not.
What is it then?
You literally talked about what it physically looks like, which is not a texture. And then you were talking about what it physically tastes like.
Yeah.
Which is not a texture.
Oh.
I'm talking about texture, like what this feels like in your mouth. Girl, you cover the 2 other senses. There's only 3 senses. But keep your sense, I want change. Hey,
no,
guys.
it's Phi in you.
This is Esoteric Oddities.
Yeah, what are we even doing?
That's Sarah.
And I am Jonathan.
Okay.
Oh, I was supposed to say, and that's...
John, edit this
I
out.
told you I'm losing my mind. I should not be broadcasted.
Oh, God. We're live on air. I can't edit this out.
A lot of people do not understand podcasts. I've had people that I've had to explain what a podcast is. And they're like, oh, like, is it live? And I'm like, no. But I guess, like, that is a thing.
Yeah, it's called fucking radio, dumbass.
I'm saying we're not a radio show. We're a podcast.
I know. It is a weird concept, though, if you think about it. It's like we're talking, we're recording it, we edit it, and then, like, people listen to it later.
I have to check my crops.
Are you making fun of me? She's making fun of me.
No, I have to do my house. I'm in a competition, and I have to win.
Dude, I won that one time. Okay, anyway.
See, I'm saying.
Hey, guys.
We are Esoteric Oddities.
Today's topic is what is today's topic? Today's topic is a Valentine's Day hangover. Okay? So it was going to be our Valentine's Day episode. However, with scheduling, there was a conflict. So you got another episode, and now you're getting our Valentine's Day Lovers Edition. You're getting it a little late, so it's going to be the hangover. And I love that for us, honestly.
It's what happens after the fact.
So thank you for that. And Sarah's got, when she's done watering her crops, she's got a little that's that on that.
Watering the crops. So my that's that on that today is, this is sparked from a video I watched of Tana Mojo.
Very controversial. I'm literally...
Yeah, she's very controversial. I actually wear a TanaCon t-shirt. I mean,
it's a hoodie,
but it's fine. It's very loud.
Thank you.
Like, can you turn it down?
No.
Anyway, so she was talking about her relationship with Bella Thorne, and it kind of, like, sparked me, honestly, because...
It sparked you?
Yeah, it, like, lit a fire.
So,
like, she doesn't say she's bisexual. I usually tell people I'm bisexual when they ask, because... I'll always get into, like, relationship conversations with people, and they say, like, oh, like, and I'll be like, my girlfriend, and then I'll be like, oh, yeah, this guy that I dated, and they're like, oh, so you're, and I'm like, I'm used to saying bi, but I think it's more of, like, a pansexual thing. Like, I don't see gender. I don't see, like, oh, my God, that girl's a girl, she's so hot, blah, blah, blah. Like, obviously, I'm attracted to people, but, like, it's not, like, a gender thing to me, like... Which is kind of weird, because it's like, then isn't bisexuality and pansexual kind of the same thing?
So to me, I think, like, and then you having to explain it to people.
Oh my God,
and
yeah.
I think, but honestly, okay, I know it's not technically, it's like not your job to explain it to somebody, but also, like, if we don't kind of explain to some people,
right,
people
and
don't
educate people.
People don't understand.
They're
You
gonna
think
keep that same, like, small
yeah,
mindset.
and also to be honest, people are not going to go fucking Google it. Maybe like a small percentage of people, but if you tell people you're pansexual, tell them to Google it. They're gonna be like, okay, I don't fucking care
my
enough.
thing is, people will ask you what you are and then judge you for it. Like, why are you asking me if you're literally just gonna judge me?
Right. Okay. I have 2 thoughts really quick to, like, wrap up what I was kind of thinking.
Yeah.
So basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying you're attracted to whoever for whatever. So it could be someone who identifies as a man. It could be someone who identifies as a woman. It could be somebody who identifies as queer. It could be somebody who identifies as, like, gender fluid. It could be literally
anybody on the
any
spectrum.
human being, any consensual human being over the age of 18. You could just be attracted to because of the type of person that they are, not because of what they like and who they identify as.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Okay, and I get that. And that's kind of a lot to explain to people, because I think a lot of people don't quite understand that. Also, I didn't want to cut you off.
Well, I think it's a lot of people spend their lives having these thoughts, but are so programmed, like, I know, like, the later generations are so programmed to be like, no, that's not right.
Yeah, like the older people.
Yeah.
Not even that's not right, but also, as human beings, we have, for example, the human language. Listen to my dumbass. Like, Oh shit. I've had one mimosa. We have the English language, at least like we do, you and I right now. How we're communicating is I'll say a word, I'll say banana, and that sparks something in your head that you recognize that I'm talking about something that's a fruit. It's like a yellow. You get it because you have these contexts. So people like to have like a little. I hate to say put you in a box, but literally put you in a box that's kind of like, this is what this is, this is what this is. And then that's kind of where issues grow, because then there are stereotypes based on the boxes that people are automatically put in. But since we're kids, we just learn to put things in like boxes. Like as a kid, let's say, I remember we used to have like a little coloring book, or it was like a coloring page. And it would be like, one of these things is not like the other. Find that thing that's not like the other and cross it out because it doesn't belong there.
And that's how it is.
And yeah, kind of. I feel like I'm getting a little bit off track, but just going to reel it back in. But yeah, I think I get what you're saying. And for you to be like, I'm bi, it's kind of putting you in a box, kind of.
Right.
But
also, like, I just feel like I tell people
labels. It's a
that
label.
I'm bi rather than pan because they wouldn't understand what pan is.
And then you explain it, which, I mean, I know a lot of people hate explaining shit. I personally, in my humble opinion, don't mind, because I feel like
it's education.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm trying to like help somebody understand something that they may not have known, especially if it's somebody I know won't know what it is, like my parents' generation or like their friends who would be okay with it but don't know that it's a fucking thing. They don't know it exists because they like kind of lived in a different world.
I get different, I guess, feedback. So like a year ago when me and my girlfriend were new, I brought her to my corporate job, their opening party, and it wasn't like terrible, but I remember me and her had walked out of the bathroom together. Like, I would do that with my friend.
Right.
So
it's yeah, people, and it's just like, what is this? I don't compute. I cannot understand.
Well, the girl was like, I didn't know Sarah was gay. And I had already walked away. And one of the people that I work with was like, oh no, well, she's bi. And this girl was like, well, I can't keep up. But like,
right.
What is that? Like, why are you questioning?
Yeah. Also, another thing is, I actually had somebody I know ask me, they're like, do you think like bisexual is a thing? Because there's a lot of people who won't acknowledge that it's a thing. One, I don't identify as bi, so how the fuck would I say? That's the same thing as being like, do you think trans is a thing? Like, obviously there are trans people.
Right.
I don't understand what it's like because I'm not them.
Right.
I only know what
about
I'm going through. Yeah.
Right.
So, but of course it's a fucking thing. Same with bisexuality. I think it's ridiculous to be like, bisexual is not a thing. It's just like, do you know what I mean?
Right.
Well, of course you know what I mean, because it's just like what the fuck it is.
That's like someone coming to me and talking about being fully gay. I don't know what that's like.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because it's like you're living your own life, but like for someone to be like, do you think bi is a thing? Do you think they just like anything, or do you think they're just like horny? Like, I've had somebody I know question me that, and I said the same thing politely. I wasn't like a dick, but I was like, I don't know what it's like to be trans. I respect trans people, and I understand that I won't understand it because I'm not going through that.
Right. Yeah. So I said that to say, stop questioning people for what they are. If they come to you and they're like, this is what I am, I feel like you should just, if you don't understand, figure it out on your own time.
And I feel like a lot of our audience who's listening right now can definitely, they're on like art. I feel like we're preaching to the choir, but just kind of venting here.
Yeah. So I said it to say, like, don't.
Did you hear me fart? I'm so
sure
sorry.
did. You just shook my world.
Oh my god! I held my friend's baby and she farted and pooped on me.
I love that. That's so important.
It was really important. But back to the good shit.
Yeah, back to the good shit. So basically, I said to say, like, it's just, we're in a different time right now. I feel like a very different time where there's a lot of our gender coming through where it's like fine, and then there's a lot of like the opposite, just being like, what the fuck is happening?
Are you talking about generations, not gender?
Yeah, I meant gender.
No, I understand. Sorry, you've done a lot of drugs in your life. It's totally okay. No, I understand what you're saying. Also, before we get on to our topics,
basically just let people be who they want to be.
Right.
Don't question them or judge them.
Right. I think sometimes questioning people, it's not I feel like some people don't mean to question and be like, well, why are you this way? But I think some people don't understand it and want to know. Mm-hmm. But then it's how those people respond to what you say. It kind of really paints a picture for it.
Exactly.
And really quick, Another thing is, I feel like, so if you see a heterosexual couple, a man and a woman who identify as a cis man and a cis woman,
They
right?
do, yeah.
And if they're together and they're out in public, let's say they're at a party and everybody's a little tipsy, so you're like meeting new people but bending boundaries of what you would normally say to a stranger that you're meeting for the first time. Can you tell that this has happened to me a couple times?
Yes, I can.
So let's say I'm at a party with a guy that I'm dating, and then there's like a straight couple. I would never question anything or ask them
that a straight couple did.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then for some reason they think it's appropriate and they think it's okay to be like, so are you top or bottom? Like, how does it work? Like, do
Remember
you guys?
that girl?
Yes, when we were in Chipotle in 2012.
I remember that.
And a girl who worked at no, it wasn't Chipotle, it was Qdoba in Philadelphia, came up, and one was she was hitting on Sarah, and two asked me if I was a top or a bottom, and then started asking me what I liked to do, and I was like, I think I just laughed it off because I was like, what, late 18?
How do I?
And like awkwardly, yeah. And I was like, what? In what world do you think it's like appropriate to go up to people and like ask them really personal questions like that? Because then it becomes a thing where it's like, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but like, and then I feel like then people really look at gay couples, like especially lesbian couples, as very sexual beings and not somebody who would have like a deep-rooted like love connection, because
it's like it's just
I feel like asking them
that
has nothing to do. I mean, in a personal relationship with me and somebody else, of course, it has something to do with stuff, but like to an outside person, like, what the fuck, why are you asking me this? It's not your fucking business. And just letting you know, like, that's, and God forbid I say something like that and they're just like, oh, like, you don't have to get all sassy, you didn't have to get all bitchy, you don't have
to ask me personal questions.
And then I just turn into a sassy gay gay man.
I have been friends with Jonathan for 7 years. I've never asked him if he was the top or a bottom.
Well, I think that's because I'm widely open with you.
That's true, but like, I've never asked him about like.
No pun intended with that widely.
I've never asked him anything about like anything gay related.
Right. But and I just don't understand where people get off thinking that they can ask. Like a
stranger.
Or where they can get off asking like a lesbian couple. So like, how does it work? Like, what do you guys do? Do you fist each other? Do you got a double-sided anything?
Yeah, oh my God.
It's like, okay, it's not your business.
Story time. My dad had to come fix a hole in my wall that those moving guys, I think I told that story on here.
Yeah, where they fucked up your wall bad.
Sure did. So him and his friend came to fix it. This is my first time. This is my dad's first time meeting my girlfriend. He had known that I had a girlfriend before previously. And I don't know where he lies. I really don't give a fuck. Anyway, his friend was almost ostracizing me for being with a girl. Like, he had mentioned something about batteries and then was like, oh, you probably have a ton of those. Like, and I was like, I don't even use like a battery powered dildo, so what's good?
Right.
It's just like,
right.
It was just like just little insinuations that I felt like disrespected and uncomfortable. And
then if you say something, everybody's like, oh my God, she's a feminist. She's like, she's a hardcore. But like, it's no, literally not your business.
My life.
Yeah, like,
I don't ask you what you and your fucking wife do.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, behind closed doors, your wife is punching your fart box.
Right.
I'm not judging you for that.
What is that thing called when you
fisting?
Fuck a guy
Pegging.
with a dildo. Yeah, I'm not asking you if your wife is pegging you in the fucking closet while your kids are asleep.
Honestly, I could care less. I highly encourage it.
Okay. That's where men's G-spots are. They're assholes.
I love how the people who like are just like, God hates gay people, and then God's up there. He's just like, let's put the guy's G-spot in their asshole.
Also, I feel like everyone's gonna like fast forward through this part.
Oh, that's so fine. Hi guys, you came for murder, not for punching each other's. No, never apologize, because
we're a queer podcast.
Let's say it together, because
that's that on that.
Okay, and let's change the pace of things and talk about some fucked up shit.
All right, are you guys ready? So this story is about...
Wow, we really are just like switching paces like that. Let's get into it.
This story is about 16-year-old Michaela Costanzo. She was a good kid. She was pretty popular. She did well in school. She enjoyed being on the high school basketball and track team. She was close to her mother and sisters. They texted regularly, especially if her schedule changed. Pay attention to that. It will come back.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
What year is it?
It's 2011. I'm getting right there.
Perfect. Thank you.
On March 2011, this is March 3rd, Michaela, or as her close friends called her, Mickey, didn't text her mother after school or answer her cell phone. Now, as I stated before, she always texted her mom and sisters when her schedule changed.
So red
this
flag.
Obviously, exactly, raised the
Concerning.
red flag to
Okay.
her mother.
And I've heard this podcast before, so I think I know where it's going, unfortunately.
So Mickey was last seen around 5 p.m. leaving through the back doors of West Wendover High School in West Wendover, Nevada. Normally her sister would pick her up from school, but her sister was out of town, so Mickey was going to walk home.
Oh, God.
Right. When she didn't come home, her mother began calling her friends. After countless times of her friends being like, we don't know what you're talking about, the police got involved, and they started investigating the disappearance of Mickey. They interviewed classmates and friends, including her childhood friend, Cody Patton. He gave the police the same story as her friends. He said that the last time he saw her was outside the school around 5 p.m.
That has to be so fucking, like, horrifying as a parent. To
Right?
be like, especially if it's a walking distance.
Like, how does no one know?
Especially if it's a walking distance from the school. Like, if you
Right.
live a walking distance where she could walk home. That's
But
so
also,
scary.
it raises a red flag because, like, I've heard bizarre stories of, like, it's been, like, a foot away and something has happened.
Yeah,
Like, it's just so
you just
quick.
never fucking know. I was in a situation like that when I lived
Really?
when I lived in Chicago. There was one way home. I used to be able to walk home from my elementary school. Well, the one elementary school I went to.
Mm-hmm.
I went to like 7. And there was one shortcut I was never allowed to take. The rule was because I was like cutting through people's yards. So I wasn't allowed to take it.
Mm-hmm.
So the one day I'm walking home from school by myself and I take the shortcut. And I guess while I was taking the shortcut, my mom was driving around the block where we just passed each other on the same block, but I was in somebody else's yard. So we
So
didn't
she
see each
saw
other.
you?
No, so we didn't see each
Okay,
other.
oh, right.
So I get to my house. The house is locked and I didn't have keys back then. I was,
God.
I don't even know. I was probably in like 3rd grade.
Right. Was she coming to get you?
Yes, she was coming to get me. And I don't know where the miscommunication was in there. She was with my brother. Nobody was home. So I walked to my friend Kelly's house, which was like down the street. And I just like hung out there. And my mom had no fucking idea where I was.
Right.
I wasn't at school. School said I left. I wasn't at home. I didn't have keys. I didn't have a cell phone back then.
Right. It's terrifying.
Yeah. And then I got in a lot of trouble because she's like, that's why you don't take the fucking shortcut home.
Your
It was
mom.
through my friend Keanu's fucking yard. Fuck you, Keanu, if you're listening to this. He stole money from me.
Oh,
in
is that the
3rd
one in
grade.
the weird basement?
I don't know what you're talking about.
He had a weird basement. Something happened.
No, that was Ethan. Fuck you too. Oh my god, that was the kid I got in the fight with.
Yeah, and
I
you punched him in the face.
I
and
drug him by his backpack into traffic. I was wild.
No,
that
you
was
really were.
That was in 5th grade.
No,
Yeah.
you really were.
It was right after we hosted the talent show together. He said I deserved to be grounded. No, I told him he deserved to be grounded, and he told me he wanted my house to burn down with my family inside. So I socked him in the fucking face. I was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And then I dragged him, and then the people who like the
Right.
crossing guard was like, stop it. I was like, fuck you, Patty. Socking him in the face, literally dragging him into traffic by his hair and his backpack.
I love that for you.
I hope that didn't happen to her. Let's get back to the story. Sorry about that.
So,
side note.
many people organized search parties. They were looking in the deserts surrounding the town, including an area called Gravel Pits.
Oh no, that doesn't sound good.
2 days later, a searcher noticed a fresh tire track leading to what looked like fresh blood and a suspicious mound covered by a sage bush.
Oh god.
Right, so
We got the
flag.
Holy Trinity right there. That it's not looking good.
at this point, investigators uncovered Mickey's body. She had been beaten and stabbed repeatedly on her face and neck.
On her face. Oh my god.
A plastic tie was found around Mickey's arms. The evidence indicated to police that she had been brought unwillingly to the location where she was murdered. They turned to the school surveillance cameras for more clues.
In the face and neck.
Right. So the person of interest became to be Mickey's friend, Patton. So you remember I
The
talked
boy.
about him? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He became the person of interest when investigators found calls and texts to him on Mickey's phone at the time she disappeared. Also, the surveillance video showed Mickey and Patton in the hallway leading to the leading to the entrance where she disappeared minutes later.
Mm.
In his first interview, Patton told police that he saw Mickey with her boyfriend in the front of the school.
Oh, so this isn't her boyfriend thing?
No.
Oh, God.
This is her friend.
Okay.
Everyone else said she was in the back of the building. Now, mind you, in the first part,
Right.
when I read earlier, he said that he saw her going out through the back doors. Now he's saying she went through the front.
What'd you change note for?
Okay.
Patton.
So Mickey and Cody, that's Patton,
Oh, okay.
had known each other since they were kids. As they got older, they remained friends, but socially they went their separate ways. Cody was a little bit more popular than Mickey was, so you know how that goes in high school.
I do. Wow, that's... Okay. I would have thought it would be the other way.
Oh, that Mickey got popular?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Patton became involved with Tony Fratto. This is a girl.
Okay.
She was a Mormon who, like Mickey, was popular in high school. But even though they say that, like, Mickey was popular, Cody was more popular.
Okay, so... Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotta love that high school hierarchy, don't we?
Literally, I was, like, the second popular. Like, there was, like, this whole group, and then there was, like, me and my friends.
I love that.
And it
for
was
you.
literally just me, Taylor, and Kayla.
Oh, look at you. The plastics.
Basically.
I was literally all over the fucking place.
Really?
I had friend groups everywhere. Except for the anime kids.
I
Back
wasn't
then they
like
were
that in high
weird,
school. I
and
wish
now
I
I'm like
was.
cool with them. The furries, like if you're in a furry community, like what's good?
Yeah.
I might be a furry. I've never done it.
Okay. So,
Oh god, the Domino's pizza's
the
here. Hold on.
here. Patton and Fratto decided that they wanted to get married. He joined the Mormon faith so he could marry Fratto in the temple.
Right in high school.
Yep, you already know. Fratto was dedicated to Patton and wanted to help him reach his goal of joining the Marines. He was 6'8" with a quick temper at home and at school. Mm.
He was how tall?
6'8".
No.
Yes.
Absolutely not. I don't believe it.
So after
6'8".
Yeah.
6'8".
Yes. After a bad fight with his father, he moved to Fratto's house. So as you can see, there's literally like a pattern here that this boy is angry.
Yeah.
Like
a pattern pattern,
okay,
if you will.
look at that.
6'8" though?
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically,
Are you sure not 5'8"?
It says 6'8".
Wow. Okay.
Fratto's parents were conflicted, obviously, about having Patton stay there because they were Mormon, and you know how that goes. Their primary concern was that their daughter, who they knew was in love with this boy, and they were also concerned that Fratto might move out with Patton, so they agreed to let him move in their home, where they can keep an eye on their daughter.
On their relationship. Okay. Yeah. Their high school. Okay.
Yeah, you already know.
I guess there were kind of like parents like that. Like,
yeah, like
in
you
my
can't
school,
sleep in the same bed.
No, I know that, but like having him live there, like absolutely not. I feel like my parents would definitely
be like, sorry, too bad.
Nope.
Their relationship with Patton improved, and soon they considered him a part of the family.
Okay, well I guess that's good.
So Fratto was insecure about Patton's relationship with Mickey. Fratto kept a diary and wrote about her insecurities. This is how they found out. She believed that Patton loved Mickey and one day would leave her for his childhood friend.
Oh no.
Patton began to use Fratto's jealousy as a form of entertainment and would create scenes that he knew she would react to, including talking and texting Mickey. According to Mickey's family, for months, Fratto verbally insulted Mickey. Mickey's sister said Mickey told her that she disliked the drama and that she had a boyfriend and she wasn't interested in Patton. But the insults continued, and Fratto was convinced that Mickey would ruin her relationship.
Why is this 6'8" dude being such a dick?
Because that's what 6'8" men do. They ruin your life! So with Patton as a primary suspect.
There's no way he was 6'8".
Why?
I just don't think he was 6'8".
People are 6'8". That's like a thing.
Yeah, if you're fucking Shackle O'Knackle.
No, you don't have to be a basketball player to be 6'8". Are you looking it up?
Yes, it's a requirement when you're born. You have to. They're like, this kid, he needs to be a football player.
It's basketball.
Wait,
and no,
oh my god,
doesn't.
stop. Shackle O'Knackle, he's 7'1".
Okay, so it's possible. He's tall.
This high schooler is not 6'8". Was he like a John? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting stuck on the things that aren't important. Let's continue.
You're gonna be so fine. So with Patton being the primary person of concern in the case, the police asked for him to come to an interview. It didn't take long for Patton to break down. Patton's confession was encouraged by his father. He confessed that he had an involvement in Mickey's death. Patton said that he and Mickey went for a drive to the gravel pit after school. They began arguing when she told him to break off his engagement with Frado and start dating her instead, which he refused to do. Lies! I feel like that's a lie. That's a lie. The government. So the argument became physical when Mickey began to hit him in his chest and he shoved her back. She fell and hit her head and went into convulsions. Not knowing what to do, he hit her in the head with a shovel to try to knock her out. Every time I read that, I laugh. I'm sorry, like, I'm not laughing that she's dead.
Right.
I'm just laughing that that's his excuse. Like, he's like, he made up this story to make it look like it was her fault, but then was like, I knocked her out because she was having convulsions.
Oh, God. Okay. All right.
I guess the brain went to the rest of him, and that's why he's 6'8".
Yeah.
Patton said that she was making sounds, and he slashed her throat to get her to stop. Realizing she was dead, he buried her in a shallow grave and tried to burn her personal belongings.
Okay, this sounds hella premeditated. Where was his shovel? How do you get there and then be like, I just so happen to have a shovel
and a knife?
Yeah. Okay.
Patton was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and the possibility of a death sentence. He hired attorney John Olson, who had the reputation for keeping killers off death row. Is he covering up for the girl? Don't tell me yes or no. I just want to I'll
put
get
it
in
out
there.
Oh, God.
Are you ready?
Because why would he actually go and do this?
Right.
Oh, my God, I'm nervous.
Okay. So, devastated by Patton's arrest, Frado visited him, wrote him, and called him.
Because she fucking did it.
Him that she missed him and she would always stand by him. On April 2011, her parents were out of town. Frado, dressed in her pajamas and accompanied by Patton's father, went to Alston's office and tape recorded an entire different version of the circumstances of Mickey's murder. Frado said that after school, she received a text from Patton with words, "I've got her," meaning Mickey was in an SUV that Patton had borrowed and he was on his way to get Frado. The three went to the gravel pits where Mickey and Patton got out of the car and Mickey yelled at him and pushed him. Frado said that she covered her eyes but heard a loud thud and got out of the SUV to see what happened. She said when Mickey was laying on the ground, not moving, Patton began to dig a grave, and when he was finished, Mickey was semi-conscious. They kicked, punched, and hit her with a shovel. When she stopped moving, they placed her in the grave and took turns slitting her throat.
I knew
Frado also admitted to sitting on Mickey's legs to hold her down during the attack. Since Patton was his client, not Frado, there was no attorney-client privilege, and Olson immediately turned the tape over to the police. Tony Frado, who had not even been a suspect, was booked, charged with murder, and held without bail. At first, they both had plea deals. Patton agreed and then changed his mind, where Frado agreed to plead guilty to second-degree murder and testify against the man who she promised to stand by forever. Look at that.
Oh, my God.
The confession Frado gave to the police was another version of what had happened the day at the gravel pits. This time, she said Patton was mad at Mickey, and when she got into the SUV, she saw Mickey stuffed in the back, scared, with her hands up to her face. Patton sent Frado a text saying, "We have to kill her." And when they got to the gravel pits, he ordered Frado to stand guard. He then dug the grave and told Frado to hit Mickey, but she refused. Patton began punching Mickey and told Frado to hit her with a shovel. Frado hit Mickey in the shoulder, and Patton hit her in the head. She was lying on the ground. This is Mickey. When Frado held down Mickey's legs. At some point, Mickey looked up at Patton and asked if she was still alive and if she could go home. Patton then slit her throat with a knife. In April 2012...
What a change-up of her story there.
Right. Frado, who is now 19, pleaded guilty to second-degree murder with a deadly weapon in the death of Michaela Costanzo and was sentenced to life behind bars with possibility of parole in 18 years. As of August 2018, she's in Florence McClure Women's Correctional Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now here is another version.
Oh, Christ.
All right. So the other version that Patton gave later on was that he said that Frodo had confronted Mickey in school that day and called her a slut. Patton suggested that Frodo and Mickey meet and talk it out. Frodo said she wanted to fight it out, and Mickey agreed. That was as far as Patton got with this version of the story. He stopped after his attorney told him to turn down the plea deal. In May 2012, Patton agreed to plead guilty to first-degree murder to avoid the death penalty and was sentenced to life in prison without a chance of parole. As of August 2018, he is in the Ely State Prison in White Pine County, Nevada. As a part of the report, Patton wrote a letter to the judge denying that he killed Mickey. He put the blame solely on Frodo, saying that she slit Mickey's throat, but the judge didn't buy it. He sentenced Patton to life, telling him, "Your blood runs cold, Mr. Patton. There should be no possibility of parole." And then there's one more version.
I hate... Oh my God. I'm looking at it. Did you look at pictures of them?
Yes.
You looked at a picture of Tony Furtado?
Yeah, because I'm going to send you them for the...
Okay,
Instagram.
perfect. But she looks like
she's not okay.
Dead behind the eyes.
Yeah, right?
She looks like a cunt who would kill a bitch.
Right, I'm saying. So with two killers locked away from each other, Frodo had time to reconsider her situation. She offered one more version of the deadly story.
Here, you know what? Now that I think about it, you guys, here's what actually happened.
Yeah, like, oh, all those other things I said?
Yeah, you know what? I'm starting to remember things clearly now.
Now that I'm behind bars, and my boyfriend tried to sell me out. So she offered one more version of the story in an interview with Deadline NBC. She said that she had been abused and controlled by Patton during most of their relationship, and that he forced her to participate in the murdering of Mickey. She feared for her life after she saw him beat Mickey. She said she had no choice but to go along with what he wanted. And that is the story of the murder of Mickey, or Michaela Costanzo.
Fuck them both.
Right.
That girl, I'm looking at a picture now. She was 16. That's so sad.
But, like, what actually happened? Let's be honest. What actually happened?
They both fucking killed her.
Oh, yeah.
And it had to have been Tony who convinced the childhood friend, Cody with a K.
Yeah, to kill
his childhood friend. Because what other...
he was angry or something. I feel like she...
brainwashed him and probably convinced him to do it. I'm not saying he's innocent.
No.
He fucking was clearly in some of it. But my opinion from what you're telling me is that she probably instigated it. Or she started... Because she was...
100%.
Oh my God. That's so sad. A 16-year-old girl who wasn't even out of high school.
Right. And now doesn't get to live her life because...
this fucking bug-eyed cunt.
Right.
I hate that word, but I'm going to fucking use it. And if you don't like it, please don't unsubscribe.
I need you.
Well, shit. Regardless of what happened, a 16-year-old girl died and was buried in a shallow grave because two people fucking murdered her.
I'm saying it's crazy. It's bizarre. And it was like a pawn for both of them. Like the couple, it was like some type of pawn shit because the girl was jealous and Patton was angry.
Yeah, but I mean, nothing was happening. Well, let's just say something may have been happening between Cody and Michaela, but like for all we know, nothing was happening.
Right, but there's a thing where Cody deliberately would flirt in front of his girlfriend to make, to
make
her
his
mad.
Girlfriend jealous.
Which is like, was he kind of
abusive
and manipulative?
Yeah, and guilty, obviously.
Oh yeah, 100% dead ass guilty.
But if Michaela's responses to these things were like, nah, homie, we're just friends.
Right.
Then she clearly is like an innocent girl who just so happened to be friends with a dude who wanted to fucking stir shit up with his crazy ass fucking girlfriend.
Right. Mm-hmm. He seems unstable.
They both do.
Oh yeah.
They were made for each other.
True, but now they can't be together.
Thank you, Sarah, for sharing.
Thanks.
So my story, this is an interesting case that I'm very surprised doesn't have more coverage and more notoriety. I've seen a few podcasts that have covered it, but there's only like certain select things online about it.
Isn't that so weird? Like I've come across stories that were really interesting, but had like little to no detail.
Yeah, and this one, like at the end of it, you'll understand why it's such a big deal, but like the fact that it's a big deal in this sense that you'll learn about, it's just so interesting that it's like not huge. Anyway, this is the story of Sharon Lepatka.
Oh, God.
So Sharon Denberg was born in 1961 in Baltimore, Maryland. She was the oldest of 4 daughters to her devout Orthodox Jewish parents who were active in their congregation. So pretty much the whole family was active in there. So in high school, Sharon was a part of sports. She sang in the choir, and her parents were those strict parents that had like a tight hold on her.
Right. Like you need to be home at 8 o'clock.
Right. But that didn't end in high school. It kind of carried out. But that didn't end in high school. It carried out into her adulthood.
Wait, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
They still tried to control her once she was an adult?
Yes.
Ew.
They were, yes.
Canceled.
Okay. So in 1991, she's in her 30s now. Sharon married a Catholic man. Remember, her parents are Orthodox Jewish family. She married a Catholic man named Victor Lopatka. She takes on his last name. And he was employed as a construction worker in Ellicott City in Maryland. And are you surprised to hear that her parents didn't quite approve of this marriage?
I am not surprised.
So one of her friends would later state that Sharon was she was in love with her husband, but she saw it as a perfect opportunity in her 30s to break away from her parents. Now, another thing is I heard 2 different podcasts. I listened to a couple different podcasts that covered this topic, but I heard 2 different podcasts that I believe gave her wrong age when she got married. One of them said she was 19, but the rest of it and the articles I was finding said in 1991 when she was in her early 30s.
Oh, okay.
Because some other people were making it a point that she was 19 and she was trying to break away from her parents, but
Right.
I'm pretty sure her wedding was in 1991 and she was in her 30s. So
We'll go with that.
yeah, she was just trying to get away from her. Either way, her parents were controlling. But
And she was old enough.
Yeah, but if they're whether you're 19, but then again, like 19 to 30. If your parents are
I
controlling
really
at
feel
30,
like you're literally not an adult until like
GTFO.
26.
You're 20. Are you an adult?
Yes.
Do you know how to balance a checkbook?
Yes.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do. You write down everything, every check you're putting out.
Oh, that's really interesting. Maybe we'll do a whole podcast episode on how to balance your checkbook without visuals. So we're just going to give it to you in the audio form.
Oh, so no SOP?
No, absolutely not. So what am I saying? Okay, so Sharon and her new husband, Victor, moved into a small ranch-style house in Hampstead, Maryland, shortly after their wedding. So once the couple settled in, Sharon began several small internet businesses. So this year, by this time when they get settled in and she's doing this shit, it's 1996. Excuse me, not 1966. 1996. So keep that in mind that the internet is very new. And she's just really like taken over. She had one business called Classified Concepts, and she wrote ad copy for advertisers at a whopping $50 per ad. But
Yes.
she would also rewrite them, so she literally wasn't doing anything.
Oh.
She was just reposting them for money. She also had another website where she offered psychic readings.
Whoa.
Another one where she offered advice to people who needed advice. Yes.
I don't know if this is, you might have to edit this out. Wasn't she Jewish?
Her family was Jewish. She married a Catholic man. I don't know where she stood by her 30s. Why?
Because you said she did psychic readings, so I was like, oh, that's like...
The things she's about to do on the internet.
Oh, okay, so this is like, she's a scammer. Mm-hmm. Okay, got it.
Yeah, she's not a psychic. She doesn't believe she's a psychic. She's out here. She's
Scamming.
like, hey, this internet's new. I can make money off of people.
Right.
Because she, 1, was making ads for people. 2, was doing psychic readings, was offering advice to people. She also was literally not doing anything physical. She was selling 1-900 numbers and 1-800 numbers for a shit ton of money. And then when people would call those 1-800 numbers or 1-900 numbers,
They wouldn't work.
No, they would work.
Oh.
She was actually selling them for companies, but she would get a portion of that money. Like sometimes people have to pay, depending on what it is. Like if it's a sex hotline or something, they can charge up to like $5 a fucking minute.
Yikes.
In 1996, and she was getting a percentage of that for every call that was going through a number that she sold.
Oh, wow, okay.
And she didn't have to do anything.
Wow.
You know, set it and forget it. She also had something where she was like, people would pay, I forget what it was called, but it was like something like, it sounded really bougie, and people would pay her, and like the title of it was like interior design that like the professionals don't want you to know about. And people were like, oh my God, I'll pay $75 fucking dollars for that. Give it to me. It was literally like stuff. It was like a Pinterest page in 1996 that she literally was just ripping people off, taking their money and being like, yeah, this is an online catalog. Look at these pictures.
Up.
And then she would tell you, she'd be like, yeah, I got this fucking sofa at Pier 1 Imports.
For $29.
Yeah, and that's all she was doing, is like, it was a catalog. So she's scamming people, and clearly she doesn't have like one specific profession. She's just going
like,
at everything.
Where can I scam?
Yeah, exactly.
Where's the opportunity?
Exactly. So this is kind of fucked up. She started selling love potions in a forum that was made for heartbroken teenagers. So she was really going for the vulnerable.
What a scammer.
So one forum user by the name of Studley Muffin said, don't you think it's unethical to dangle poison carrots in front of a hungry donkey?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We think it's disgusting.
Yeah. Because, you know, these kids back then who are heartbroken are willing to pay $50 for a quote-unquote love potion.
Right.
If you want a love potion, it's called Jose Cuervo. Give it to any man and he'll do what you want. Just kidding. I do not support. Everything is consensual.
Yes.
So she was kind of getting a few enemies online. However, nobody knew her exact identity. Okay, but she was making a couple enemies out there, and people were like, oh, I'm starting to see this person do other shit, because the internet was not a huge place back then.
Right. So easily tracked, probably.
Yeah, but you also didn't really know back then that it was easily tracked. So keep that in the back of your asshole. So on the morning of October 13th, 1996, Sharon drove her blue Honda Civic to visit friends in Georgia, but 12 days later, on October 25th, 1996, police found Sharon's body decomposing in a shallow grave in North Carolina.
Ooh.
So I gave you the truth there, but I didn't give you all of the details. So let's step back for a hot segundo. Sharon spent obviously a lot of her time doing internet work while her husband was out like doing things. Now, it wasn't really clear to me if her husband knew. Probably didn't know all the shit she was doing.
Yeah, but like how?
He probably knew she was selling the 1-800 numbers, 1-900 numbers, and the catalogs and things that weren't so shady.
Right,
But maybe he didn't know about the psychic readings and stuff. But what I'm going to tell you is those things were not the only thing she was making money doing. She was also selling pornographic videos to a very niche market. Yeah, so this is something her husband, her family, her friends didn't know about. Until after she was found dead. So she was under the pseudonym Nancy Carlson, and Sharon began selling videos of unconscious women having sexual intercourse.
Wow.
She advertised these videos as actual women who were willing to be knocked out, drugged, put under hypnosis, or chloroformed. But when people would purchase these videos, they would never receive them. Okay, so she also began posting as a 120-pound petite blonde selling her underwear online with an advertisement which read, quote, "Is there anyone out there interested in buying my worn panties?" End quote. So, again, people would purchase this 120-pound blonde petite girl's panties and they would never be sent. Really quick side note, she was not 120 pounds. She was a larger woman. She was in her 30s, but she looked a lot older than that. Not coming for her, rest in peace, but like, just, she's posing as things that she's not,
This
clearly.
might have to be edited out.
Oh, God.
But I feel like children that are kept like...
tight as children while out when they're older.
Yes,
when
they
break free.
like become really weird people.
Yeah, I mean, not all of them, but like in college,
like,
I definitely saw
like
kids,
what type of people were like
Yeah.
Sheltered in their lives. Yeah.
the sheltered kids who were coming from Lancaster and who were going to school in the city of Philadelphia and who had never really been in a city setting.
Yes.
That city will fucking eat you alive and spit you
Okay.
out. Those sheltered kids from those farm towns, yeah. So, again, these things that she was selling, she didn't actually fucking have.
Right.
You got it. So, she was kind of, in an evil way, being smart because she was marketing to people who police, like, they wouldn't go to the police saying, hey, I bought this pornographic video online of unconscious women and I need to get my money back.
Right.
She knew that they weren't going to go to the cops for that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
saying that like my tape hasn't arrived. Can you track down this woman? Also back then, nobody really knew how you, like the internet was so fresh and new that like nobody knew how you could even do that. So using a number of aliases, she often ventured into hardcore pornographic chat rooms under anonymous usernames. Like she had multiple usernames.
That's like too much for
Each
me.
of them had, well, she was a stay-at-home mom.
Right.
Each of them had their own like fetish. There was like an interest in bondage, obviously other fetishes, sadomasochism, and even necrophilia. So some of these identities she assumed during chat room sessions. One of them was a 5'6", 300-pound strict dominatrix disciplinarian. And she would offer people, she would say, if you pay me, I'll star in a video of me eating a whole bunch of food. And then she was like looking for a feeder, somebody who would like send her money to buy food so she could get fatter. But people would send her money with the fetish for that, and then she would just pocket the money.
Oh, God.
So
this is like really crazy.
It was in one of these sexually fueled chat rooms she met a man named Robert Frederick Glass, who went by Bobby. So he was a 45-year-old computer analyst wwho worked for the Catawba County, I don't fucking know, something like that. He worked in North Carolina. He worked for the government for 16 years. Bobby was a productive worker. He was responsible for programming tax rolls and keeping track of gas consumption of the county vehicles. So I guess like a run-of-the-mill normal guy job. He was also husband to his wife, Sherry, and the father to 3 children. He had 2 daughters, one aged 10, one aged 7, and a son who was 6 years old. But by 1996, Bobby was more passionate about the internet than he was with his marriage. So on a daily basis, Bobby spent countless hours typing away at his computer, and one day his wife Sherry logged on to see some viciously sexual emails saved on his hard drive. Ooh. So the messages had been posted under the pseudonyms Toy Man and Slow Hand.
Yikes.
How fucking horrifying.
Right?
Like, that's the creepiest.
Imagine being a wife.
Yeah.
And finding that shit.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, so she was alarmed because of the raw and sexual nature of these things that she clearly had no idea
that
he was into.
Right.
So that's when she realized there was a side to her husband that she didn't even fucking know. And the final straw she like tried to hold it together, but the final straw for Sherry was when her children would ask why their father didn't love their mother anymore. So the kids were picking up on this shit.
Right.
So in May of 1996, the couple separated and Sherry took the kids. So then in August of 1996, Bobby and Sharon had become acquainted while visiting these various chat rooms on the interwebs. So Bobby displayed a fetish for inflicting pain, whereas Sharon exhibited a desire to be submissive. So the two wrote back and forth for a while. It ended up becoming 900 fucking pages of emails.
Yikes, they were busy.
Mm-hmm. So on the morning of October 13th, Sharon drove her blue Honda Civic to a train depot in Baltimore, telling husband Victor that she was going to go visit friends in Georgia. So this is what really happened. So instead, she boarded the 9:15 a.m. train to Charlotte, North Carolina, and at about 8:45 p.m. that evening, she arrived in Charlotte where Bobby, homeboy from the internet, was waiting for her. Together, they drove 80 miles from the station to his pickup truck to his trailer home in Lenoir, North Carolina. So the events that followed after that were, a source of speculation among investigators. And in an interesting turn of events, while Sharon was gone, her husband Victor found a note that was left behind, but he didn't find it till a little bit later because it seemed like she had strategically hid it so he wouldn't find it immediately the day she left.
Right.
And the note pretty much said she wouldn't be coming back, and it ended with something really fucking weird. It said, quote, "If my body is never retrieved, don't worry, know that I am at peace," end quote.
What?
So Victor immediately is like, yo, I thought my wife, he calls police. He's like, I thought my fucking wife was going to Georgia. I don't know what this message means. I have no idea where she is, but I need help. So the police start up her computer and find out that Sharon wasn't the woman that everybody thought she was. Okay. So investigators found many messages Sharon had posted on websites such as fetishfeet.com, not sponsored, and sexbondage.com, not sponsored, but we're looking for a sponsor. So if you guys would like to hit us up, that is odditiespodcast@gmail.com.
Right.
Thank you. So the overriding theme for her messages on these forums, because they were basically all just forums back then,
Right.
was that she wanted to be sexually tortured, and she was looking for a man to satisfy her wish. On November 3rd, 1996, one message Sharon posted stated that, no, this was not November. This was before that. I'm sorry. November 3rd is when this message was found. I'm sorry. One message was found that she stated she had, quote, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
A fascination with being tortured until death.
So in this particular chat room, was she still this like tiny woman?
No, she was not. She was under a pseudonym, but she wasn't like telling people she was a petite blonde woman. So there was a sex right activist named Tanith. And this woman, Tanith, yeah. So she was going onto these websites kind of making sure everything was like okay, because there was nobody really monitoring.
Yeah.
There was no mods back then.
Right.
Well, there were, but it was just so new that nobody knew what the fuck was going on.
Right.
So this woman was just coming in and trying to be like, hey, you kids okay in here? You need anything? Snacks, condoms? Oh, you kids keep me young. Name that movie.
Mean Girls.
No. Passion of the Christ. Just kidding. Oh my God, please do not unsubscribe.
I
That
was
a
like,
joke.
Okay.
Joke. It was a joke. It was an awful joke. Please don't unsubscribe. So she became concerned with Sharon's bizarre messages. So Tanith started hitting up Sharon, was just like, hey babe, what's good? You probably shouldn't be saying these things.
Like, let's tone it down.
Yeah, because like you don't know who these people are. Somebody might think you're serious. And Sharon's like, bitch, I am fucking serious. I want the real thing. I did not ask for you to be preaching to me. Investigators found that there were numerous responses to Sharon's messages offering to fulfill her fantasy, but all these men stopped when they realized that she wasn't joking. Like, she wanted the real thing.
Oh, shit.
And that she was being so serious. And there was one man who was willing to give Sharon exactly what she desired.
Oh, Robbie.
Do you see where this is going? In an email message to Bobby Glass, Sharon, obviously, if you haven't put it together yet, had asked him to fulfill her fantasy. She wrote to Bobby that she wanted to be bound and strangled as she approached an orgasm, to which Bobby responded by describing in depth how he was going to fulfill this. Now, keep in mind, back then, they didn't really think any of this was going to be found. I don't know what he was thinking. As I said before, the two began emailing for several months, which ended up being 900 pages. Now, something that's really interesting was she was posting on these forums that she didn't want any man who was married. Like, she wanted...
Well, look at that.
She was married, but she didn't want to be a homewrecker.
But you are. You were.
Well, she wasn't, because Bobby was messaging with other women, too. So Sherry found messages with the other women and
yeah, but he was
her.
still married.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Yabbits live in the woods.
What?
One of my managers that I used to have, when I used to say yabbit, he used to say yabbits live in the woods.
Oh my God. I hate it. Sounds like something a second grade teacher would
Okay.
say. All right. So like, hey, it's for horses.
What's that whole thing? I'm sorry, this is completely off topic. What's the whole thing with can I and may I? I never understood the difference.
Because can I would be like, do I have the ability to go to the bathroom right now? And they'd be like, I don't know, can you? But if you're saying may I, it's like you're asking for permission.
I feel like that's why I am the way that I am right now. I hate authority and I hate to be controlled.
You'll never control me.
Okay.
All right, so let's get back to this. So the police department, they had basically a newly developed computer crime unit. Like, they were like, well, we've never really done anything before. It was like a couple of guys who were like, hey, I have a computer. I know how to click around with a mouse. And they were like, fuck, you're hired, dude. So they found substantial evidence on Sharon's computer linking her to Bobby Glass or Slowhand.
Ooh.
Like Lindsay Slowhand.
Slow hands.
They immediately called, remember that they're in Maryland. So they're on the computer and they're just like, hey, boss, give me the phone. We got to call North Carolina. So they called the number for North Carolina. Okay. That was stupid. John edited that out. So they let them know what's up. They were, so then the police in North Carolina found Bobby's trailer and started, monitoring it for a few days. On October 25th, a judge issued police a search warrant for Bobby's trailer. They were like, here's what's going on. But keep in the back of your head that it sounds normal to us today that they would like go directly to a judge, but it wasn't that easy back then because they were like, what do you mean you have emails? Like, what do you mean you collected evidence on their computer?
Oh, like, it what's a computer?
Yeah, exactly.
I get it.
So it wasn't as easy, and that's why it took a minute for this shit to happen.
Right.
So while Bobby was at work one day, investigators arrived at his home, again with their warrant to search, and according to police, the property surrounding the trailer was littered with rotten garbage and abandoned toys. And the interior was basically the fucking same. It was dirty, it was cluttered, it was nasty. Imagine, like, okay, I'm coming all the way from Maryland to give you this good pussy. I'm on a train for so freaking
and I'm
long.
about to literally walk into this mess.
Right? Like,
who do you think I am?
I know, and I'm not trying to make light of the situation, but homeboy, like, you couldn't have fucking vacuumed.
Yeah, basically.
Any huevos. According to the police, I already said that part. Blah, 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 blah. So they found items inside the house belonging to Sharon, as well as drugs and bondage paraphernalia, as well as a shit ton of child pornography,
Ooh.
a pistol, and thousands of computer disks. So 75 feet away from the trailer in the backyard, an officer discovered a fresh mound of soil. Is that ever a good thing?
No.
So they did what all investigators would do.
They dug it up.
They began to dig it up. And after digging for only 2 feet below the Earth's surface, they found Sharon's decomposing remains. So police show up at Bobby Glass's work and obviously arrest him. So the Caldwell County investigator, D.A. Brown, later told the Washington Post that if the body had been buried in the woodlands beyond the trailer, quote, we would have never found her, end quote. You want to know why?
Why?
Because it was a national fucking park.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah. So he like lived near a national park that if he would have buried her there, this case would remain unsolved.
It's those national parks.
It's those national fucking
I
parks.
was looking up like 10 best like cheap vacations in the US.
Mm-hmm.
I had to do it for work, and there were so many national parks, and I'm like, no.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, a couple episodes ago, it's called, I think it's like Area 51, Area 50, Area 5, something like that, whatever that is. We talked about national parks and the weird shit that's going on there. Y'all, if you don't know, I would suggest, you look like Cruella DeVille smoking that straw.
Find out.
Yeah, I would suggest going to listen to that because it's fucking crazy shit. But anyway, back to this case. While in custody, Bobby was interviewed about the events surrounding the alleged murder of Sharon. So his investigators said that he told investigators that for several days he and Sharon acted out their violent sexual fantasies in his trailer.
Ew.
He confessed that Sharon had willingly allowed him to tie her up with rope, probe her with objects that he found around his house.
Oh no, they're dirty.
I was gonna say, that
now
shit's
you have
not
a
clean.
yeasty or UTI.
So Bobby also admitted that Sharon allowed him to tie a rope around her neck and tighten it as she climaxed during intercourse. But Bobby claimed to have accidentally strangled Sharon to death while in the throes of violent sexual play, according to his lawyer, Neil Beach. I don't know why I said that so weird. According to his lawyer, Neil Beach. So Bobby was later quoted saying, quote, I don't know how much I pulled the rope. I never wanted to kill her, but she ended up dead. So here's what's interesting. So the body of Sharon Lopatka was sent to Dr. John Butts, who was the North Carolina's chief medical examiner. So the autopsy report said her cause of death was strangulation. Other tests showed some inconclusive evidence of sexual torture or mutilation. So basically, what she wanted was to be tortured until death, but in her autopsy, they were like, she was strangled to death, but she was never tortured. Like, they weren't even doing heavy BDSM stuff because she doesn't really have a bruise on her.
Oh,
it
shit,
just
right.
looks like she was murdered.
Just right.
So the medical examiner believed that Sharon had died 3 days after she arrived in North Carolina, according to how much she had decomposed.
Right.
And in an interview with the Associated Press on November 1st, 1986, Neil Beach, who again was Bobby's lawyer, he said the autopsy report supports his client's claim that the death was accidental.
No, it
so, right. In some ways, it looks like he could have just literally lured this woman in and fucking killed
like,
her
hey, you
and
wanna
not tortured her. Like he could have just been a murderer trying to find somebody who wanted to be murdered.
Right, and a chat room would be
went
where...
for it, but it also kind of looks, I don't want to say it looks good towards him because he fucking admitted to it, but it could lessen his sentence. Obviously this lawyer's doing what a lawyer does, and he was just like, it was accidental because he didn't torture her. So you gotta look at it that way. Do you know what I mean? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
I get what you're putting down.
Right. Okay. So, here's a quote that's coming from this lawyer. It's hard for me to believe the woman was tortured for 3 days if the medical examiner of North Carolina couldn't find any indication of that. It is much easier to understand or picture an accident during which sexual activity than is to conjure up an image of this man as a cold-blooded, premeditated killer. My thing is, if she wanted to be tortured to death in an email and she ends up dead and he admitted to doing it, it's premeditated. He fucking killed her. He knew what she was coming there for. He had plenty of time to turn it around.
Right.
Take her out for a nice pasta dinner. Call it quits.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I get what his lawyer's trying to
because he's doing what a lawyer does because he already fucking admitted to it.
Yeah.
You know, so he's really grasping at straws. And it, bless you.
Thank you.
It sadly kind of makes sense. But to me, I see somebody who like was... Okay, hold on. I'll hold off on that until I'm finished. So search warrant affidavits released by police stated that Sharon intended to meet up with Bobby specifically to be tortured and killed. Bless you. So Captain Danny Barlow considered death under such circumstances to be deliberate, not accidental. Good work. So according to police, the emails written under the pseudonym Slow Hand, fucking cringy.
Why do they call him Slow Hand?
That's what he called himself.
Ew,
Yeah.
Pass.
So he detailed how he was going to kill Sharon, and that provided further evidence that the death was, in fact, premeditated, as per my previous statement.
Oh, I love that, as per.
Yes. So Bobby Glass was charged with first-degree murder and held without bond in the Caldwell County Jail. So then on October 26th, Supreme Court Judge Beverly T. Beale issued a gag order to those directly involved in the case. So regardless of the court order, the media obtained enough information to fucking sensationalize Sharon Lopatka's case. Basically, they were focusing on the dangers of internet mediated meetings. So they were like, hey, don't talk to people on the internet because there's fucking killers out here.
Yeah.
But a lot of the things the media wasn't saying was that they weren't saying the whole truth of it. They were just saying this woman met a man and the man killed her, and they met online and they met up in person. So they're not giving out the full details because, I mean, technically they did have a gag order on it.
Right.
But like I'm saying, Sharon's death spawned debates and discussion groups worldwide. So many called for censorship of the internet to prevent such deaths and to protect children. Again, keep in mind, this is 1996. So this is a huge fucking deal. It's horrifying. This internet comes out and then someone's getting murdered from someone that's on the internet. And it's just like, wow. I mean, you think about it, but the general public who didn't know a lot of this sexual things were going on.
On the internet, like a free-for-all.
Yeah, a lot of these people, they were like, wow, this is a real fucking thing. Somebody is murdered. Somebody's dead.
Yeah.
And somebody is in jail for it. So conversely, then people were arguing, anti-censorship activists were saying that the internet was a useful tool allowing people to express themselves more freely and to voice their ideas, thoughts, and views in an open forum, often anonymously. They were like, you can't do that. It's like their right. And then they're like, well, what is the internet? Like, what are your rights as a person in a digital space?
Yeah.
It was like the biggest gray area at the time. It was like, well, what the fuck do we do? Because they didn't... When they were writing up the Constitution, they didn't quite include all of these things.
They sure didn't.
So the publicity surrounding the case led to an increased interest in the understanding of deviant sexual behaviors, specifically sadomasochism and asphyxiation during sexual intercourse. Basically, a lot of the articles were written. I mean, clearly people have been into this stuff for pretty much ever, but people didn't really know.
Yeah.
Like, it was a whole new world for a lot of people.
A whole new
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's many theories to explain why some people would participate in deviant sexual behavior, and I read a couple of things from. Basically, they were trying to understand why a person would go online and want this to be done to them to the point of death. So there was
it's just I
right.
feel like
But there was no evidence that suggested that either Sharon or Bobby suffered from early childhood trauma, any abnormal sexual experiences, or anything from childhood, which is
I could see how people would think that.
Right.
But I think people that are into that, like, they just like a certain thing.
And also these articles that I'm getting this from were directly from around that time, like shortly after it happened.
Right.
So they're just trying to figure it out. Kind of what we were saying earlier with like pansexuality. People don't understand what they don't understand. So they're just like, well, if somebody's into like S&M, they have to have had something fucked up happen to them as a child.
Yeah. That's like
and they're like, oh wait, they didn't. I mean, that could be the case in many cases, but they're like, oh wait, these people didn't. That doesn't fit into my theory. What do we do? What's going on? It's out of my grasp. I don't understand. I don't have a box to put this person in. What do I do?
Yeah.
Where was I? Okay, what makes this case exceptional is that Sharon ventured into the relationship with one apparent intention, which was to be murdered, which is quite interesting because literally I live out my entire life doing quite the opposite.
Right. Okay.
Trying not to be murdered by people I meet online. However, she was not the first in history to seek out a willing participant who would fulfill a request to be strangled to death for sexual gratification. So now let's jump back. I'm just going to give a really short thing, but it's kind of to prove that this shit isn't new. And I thought this was interesting. So 1791, the composer Franz Katswara, enlisted the help of a London sex worker, Susan Hill, to assist him with a bizarre wish where he pretty much wanted to be tortured and strangled while jizzing everywhere until he died. So after paying Hill 2 shillings, Franz asked her to cut off his genitalia, which she was like, nah, I'm gonna take this shilling and I'm gonna run. But Hill did agree to fulfill his sexual wish of being strangled with a rope. She's like, I'm not going to cut off your balls, but I am going to fucking kill you, bitch.
I love that.
And then I'm going to take the rest of your shillings. So it was the first documented case. Shit could have happened before. First documented case of death by sexual strangulation. The woman was arrested for the murder, but later acquitted after authorities learned she was more or less of an innocent bystander, unlike Bobby Glass, who faced first-degree murder charges for the sexual strangulation death of Sharon Lopatka. So the case against Bobby Glass stretched on for 3 years. They had a few lengthy delays. And on January 27th, 2000...
Wow.
Bobby...
That was like a long time ago.
Yeah, it was like 19 years ago. But this case went on, and it was sensationalized. It happened in 1996, October 1996. So Bobby pled guilty to voluntary manslaughter as well as 6 counts of second-degree sexual exploitation of a minor because he had child porn fucking everywhere.
Right.
The latter charges resulted from what I just said, pornographic material found on Bobby's computer. He was sentenced to 36 to 53 months in prison for the manslaughter of Sharon Lopatka, and an additional 21 to 26 months for the possession of child pornography. So basically, in 36 months, he would be, eligible for parole.
I cannot.
Okay. He was sent to the Avery Mitchell Correctional Institution in North Carolina, but he did not face his entire sentence because on February 20th, 2002, 2 weeks before his release, Bobby Glass had a fucking heart attack. He was pronounced dead at 1:30 a.m.
Look at that. So lucky for him.
The Lopatka case, this is what I was talking about earlier, why I'm so surprised it's not, obviously. Like, was this not a whirlwind? Like, this is crazy.
That was a lot.
This was the first case that a police unit captured a murder suspect based primarily on evidence obtained from emails. This is the first time it ever happened.
Oh, shit, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So this was like the first time they were like, hey, these emails look sus. Let's take this shit to court. Also, really quick, just want to say, I know I fetish shaming. If you want to go online and be that 5'6" 300-pound dominatrix, do so. As long as everybody is consensual and safe and over the age of 18.
Yes.
So I am not fetish shaming. I just thought this was a very interesting case. And then it kind of brought up a lot of questions surrounding whether or not this was sexual. It brought up a lot of questions online with assisted suicide. But my thing, okay, there's this whole thing that's going on with like assisted suicide and where it's like not legal, but like the punishment for it is a lot different depending on state to state.
Right.
But to me, I was thinking about it a lot after this. To me, if assisted suicide was legal, this would fucking open a floodgate to a shit ton of homicides. So if it's legal, like how easy would it be to murder somebody
and just blame them
and make it look like
it was
an assisted suicide,
right?
But the other person was
Killed
a victim and was not consenting.
Right.
And then they're just like, well, assisted suicide is legal. Shrugs shoulders. Do you know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah.
It opens a whole floodgate. I also have a note on my phone that I wanted to get to, but I forget exactly what it was. So give me un momento, por favor.
Un momento.
Ranch, buffalo sauce, frozen pineapple. That is my grocery list. Okay, there is a podcast called The Red-Handed Podcast. They are these lovely women with fantastic accents. And they covered this case, and they brought up an interesting point that she, in her past, didn't show much empathy. So they were not saying, and this is so interesting to think about, they were not saying she was a psychopath, but they were saying she could have had psychopathic tendencies, not saying she's a psychopathic murderer, but she could have had psychopathic tendencies. And they talked about this test that people have where you sit down I don't want to say normal, but you sit down a person and tell them that they're going to be like it's a test, and they're like, you're going to be electrically shocked in 5 seconds, and then they monitor their heart rate and they start sweating and stuff. But a clinically psychopathic person
They don't do any of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in some cases, like sexual intercourse, you want to push it to the limit to where you're like, I'm just saying possibly.
Your heart's
possibly about to die and then not actually go through with it.
Right.
So if she was,
adrenaline?
I don't fucking know.
Right.
But she could have probably. She possibly, if I'm not calling she was, just trying to cover my ass here, but if she was a psychopath, because she didn't have empathy for any of those people she was scamming online, some of her friends were just like, yeah, maybe that's the case with it, but maybe that's what she wanted, and that you good there? And maybe she was just taking her sexual thrills to the extreme,
right.
And she wanted to stop just before death, but she wanted to see how far somebody else would go.
Right.
But maybe it was an accident.
I don't know. I just feel like he's still child porn, so that's like kind of like a...
Oh, I'm not saying for him. I'm saying for her, maybe she didn't fully want to go through with it.
Right.
He's fucking scum. He's dead. Fuck you.
Yes.
You killed somebody and then, but I'm just saying maybe it's not... Maybe she would have called it off. I don't know, though.
I don't know. I still am on my thing about people being sheltered, just being like the next
I don't
spectrum.
Know. Yeah. Don't know. And also don't know what happened to her as a child. Don't know too much.
Right.
Also, what's interesting is we don't know what happened in his trailer for 3 days.
Yeah.
She didn't have bruises and stuff on her. And according to their 900 pages of emails, she wanted to be tortured.
Right.
And then murdered.
So what happened?
We don't know. Because both parties involved are dead. What did you think? Wild, right? That's a wild case.
I can't.
And you know what's good?
My mind.
Yeah, you suggested this last year. I want to say maybe like last summer.
I did.
You were like around Valentine's Day.
Day.
Let's do like BDSM gone wrong. And this case clicked in my head. I was like, oh, bitch.
I already know what I'm gonna do.
I know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, because it's true.
Wild. Yeah. Again, not, if you want to shove a coconut up your ass, shove a coconut up your ass.
But just don't die, please.
Yeah, it's not good. Do you have a tweet of the week and a fun fact?
I do. My tweet of the week is from Kaylani. It's Bust Down Chupacabra. So this resonates. There's a song out now. It's Bust Down Tatiana, and it's like a huge song. So I thought that was really funny. There's also a thing going around, Bust Down Satiana.
I know.
Which I am always Satiana. So.
Tatiana. I saw the Tatiana. I'm done. The Chupacabra.
Bust Down Chupacabra.
My tweet of the week is from Shannon Rose, and I have no context here. And
God.
It says, everyone is about to watch my vagina split open. No context. Ooh,
Well,
maybe
isn't
this
she
was
a porn
not.
star?
She was. Maybe this wasn't the case to bring that tweet of the week in. All keys. You got a fun fact.
Yeah. McDonald's once made bubblegum broccoli.
What?
Yes.
McDonald's?
Yes.
Made. Okay.
Bubblegum broccoli.
I'm curious. Like, I want to
Okay.
try that.
I'll tell you.
Can we order it? Do you have Grubhub?
Yeah, I
want
do.
it now. Okay, so my fun fact is 10 human body parts are only 3 letters long. Eye, hip, arm, leg, ear, toe, jaw, rib, lip, and gum. A lot of those are in your mouth.
Wow, look at that. So basically, to go back on the McDonald's thing, McDonald's wanted to, like, make kids eat healthier things. So they thought that if they made broccoli taste like bubblegum.
How did they do it? Do you think they interject, or do you think they put it in like a sauce?
Well, it was like, it didn't even get pushed out yet because it was like
Oh.
testers and they were confused by the taste. And then the country was banned.
Oh my God, imagine if it literally just turned, what if it just tasted like normal broccoli, but it worked like Razzles and it just turned into like gum. That tasted like broccoli.
I always wanted to try the snozberries from Willy Wonka.
You want to know what's interesting that you just said that? So Roald Dahl, the guy who wrote that book,
Yeah.
he had written another book that wasn't for kids, and he referred to a man who got kicked in the balls. They referred to his balls as snozberries. So then people are like, okay, wait. And then he wrote another book where kids are licking wallpaper, and he's saying the snozberries taste like snozberries. So the balls taste like balls.
Wow.
I
That's
know,
crazy.
fucking weird.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we can't stay too long because we're going to go get our nose pierced.
Yeah, I already have mine done, but fuck it. What's another one?
Yeah, I just decided I wanted to get my nose pierced because this is not a phase, Mom. I am Ronald McDonald. Thank you, thank you guys.
Thank you so
much
much
for listening. We appreciate all of the new reviews. If you guys haven't reviewed us, it honestly it takes not too long, and it really fucking helps us out. It really does. If you guys want bonus content, there is a new bonus episode out for only $5 at patreon.com/esoteric oddities. Thank you so much to our new supporters there. We greatly appreciate it. We greatly appreciate all of you who are listening. Follow us on social media. You know where to find us. Send us an email at odditiespodcast@gmail.com. I feel like, you know, when you watch a commercial and it's like all these side effects. That's me.
Infomercials, and it's like, it's you.
That's me. Should we end this? Should we like sing goodbye?
No, I'm not singing. I'm done doing that because it sounds fucking terrible.
No, it's so dumb. That's so stupid.
I'm so sorry. Do you want to sing?
No.
Goodbye.
Bye. That sounded good.
You're welcome.
Fuck off.